Boa tarde a todos.
Good afternoon. We will resume our works from MOVE 2012. We will remind you that to pick up headsets for simultaneous translation, and you need to leave a personal original document with a picture. The questions to the speakers can be made in writing using the forms that are in the program folder. They will be collected by the personnel in the audience. We kindly request that you put your cell phones in silent mode. Now we will begin the parallel session number 2 with the title Results in Sports for All, Education and Citizenship Through Sports. We call now to the panel the moderator Fernando Dyzarz from the National Department for Social Services in Commerce, and the speakers Luís Cláudio Marques from Social Services for the Industry, Paula Korsakas for the Center of Sports Practice from the University of São Paulo, and Eduardo Marcolin from Icaro Institute in Brazil. Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to be here and to be in this panel with such esteemed colleagues that will present their experience, which are important within the concept of this Congress and this campaign here in Brazil. So let us get to the matter. We will have three We will have 20-minute speeches. The questions at the end of the 3 speeches, we will have people picking up these questions. And let us begin our panel. This parallel session is a result of projects for Sports for All through the and the theme is that sports out of regular schools, such as colleges and universities. Education for sports develops technical competencies. Education through sports uses the physical activity to achieve certain social objectives, such as ethnical reconciliation, public health, citizenship, and social integration. So Sports for All is very well related to public well-being. Education through sports is the physical exercise that generates learning, existential learning amongst human beings. Popular sports is a personal development through a physical encounter, and it is a school for life for for creating your self-trust. What are the different models and examples of good practices that we know? Our colleagues will present some of theirs. Luís Cláudio Marques is the coordinator for Athletes for the Future for SESI in São Paulo. He is a physical educator, postgraduated in leisure, and through Senac, he was a professor for Anglo Rio Claro, professor from Centro de Aprendizagem from Pinheiros, acted as an attaché for goalies in Jamaica in 1995. In his preparations for the games of 96 and 98, he coordinated Ranieri from 96 to 2000 and acts as a professor for physical education in postgraduate school Gama Filho and supervises sports in SESI São Paulo, elaborating programs for this entity. Please, Professor Luís Cláudio.
Muito obrigado.
Boa tarde a todos.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to be here and receive this invitation for this very good event. And it's a great opportunity we have to learn and to exchange experiences for a better future for our country with propositions, structures, and thinking on the sports area. It's a great honor to divide this panel with our guests here. So I'm going to present the results from sports, especially from SESI São Paulo, which is the program Athletes for the Future. I'll quickly give you some of the history of the concept for the program to go into the results later. The program is structured following what we have as an infrastructure in Brazil, in literature and sports from Brazil, and in how it is classified or presented to the population, sports, and the three great areas, sports education, sports, and thinking of this, and within this structure, SESI has aligned their actions and their programs for sports to be offered to the public. And how did SESI view this offer, thinking of the three great areas of sports? He made the following rationale. From 6 to 17 years old, he sees participation sports. This is the name of the sports, Athletes for the Future, SESI. It's a social educational program for formation of sports people. As of 11 years old, SESI has another program called SESI Sports Training. Would be a transition. We have those kids, girls and boys, that perceiving SESI and their coaches and their educators some specific properties for the development of a certain sport, they offer this possibility to them. And also, after 18 years old, the high performance sports. So we have three structured programs: Future Athletes, which is formation, training, which is a transition, and performance sports, which is a different scenario. This program, Athletes for the Future, basically its methodology is done by three pillars. They are as capsules. They have to fit into that whole that you can see. The classes, as you can see, participation of the family, and the development of parallel themes. Due to it being directed to social, it's no use for the teacher to make efforts during classes, because the results in social terms won't be the expected result from the original project. So all the content, the evaluations in class, the themes of classes will be structured within actions to develop and participation of the family, sports events, festivals, family reunions, parent reunions, technical reunions, and so on. Along with this, we see the need to work parallel themes: ethical, environmental, work, health, sexual orientation, and together within this great unit. And for our surprise, SESI was implemented quality control. All of this process that you see here is now audited. So you have forms for services, forms for control, procedures that have been stipulated, evidences that will ensure that everything is being executed and done properly. This is a great leap in quality in quality management. Since these classes are structured respecting the ages, and at each age you have a scope that will work certain contexts in accordance with the development of these youngsters, as is seen here in this picture. How the actions of the family can be worked together. We always, they should always offer actions in the weekend to bring together this family. So Sesc develops themes, games, integration for parents and child annually. And how is this possible? All professors in SESI São Paulo have a time in which part of this time is for these actions on the weekends to contemplate the three pillars that were shown priorly. It's easy to say we need events for the family, we need actions for the family, but how do you do this? And the time of the professor, can he do that? Yes, because there is the structure offered for our teachers. And the parallel themes, they must be treated both in class and in the events. So you can, for example, just a small example where the students, swimming students, go with the teacher together with the swimming pool operator to the machine room, and so the child discovers that the water inside the swimming pool is never thrown away and it's treated. This is linked to a parallel theme, which is environment. So the child, we have data that confirm that after this action they require the request from the teacher to go to the bathroom, not to do it in the pool. After this simple information, which is a parallel theme that has been worked in class. And all this program has to be documented systematically and to generate possibilities of development. These are the tools for evaluation. So SESI has all these structured tools, audited, as I said, for quality reasons. In this spreadsheet that I am showing to you, the child arrives, he needs a form that will be filled in by the parents, and the period of this is always in the beginning of the program. Another document is planning of classes. So all classes, all teachers must hand in their planning for classes. The teacher does this, he hands it into coordination. All pools must have a coordinator to develop the programs together with the teachers, and it is done monthly. Does he have to hand in every month? He can do this by semester or annually, handing in their spreadsheets for every reference of month. Anthropometric evaluation, that is done by the teachers. The destination of this evaluation are parents and students, and it is done 2 times a year. In this spreadsheet, we adopt the manual of PRHODE to see a long-term study for physical aptitudes and skills in the PRHODE manual. We have an evaluation for attitude because it is fundamental for this tripod. It is a spreadsheet that has been built by the teachers, where the teachers from the whole state elected 3 main values, positive values for sports, and from these 5 values they generate questions that related to the child's attitude in relation to value of sports specifically. For example, to overcome yourself. So we have 3 questions related to this theme. Does the person quit easily from their goals in class? Does it go after success? Can it face challenges and defeats? So the professor will evaluate this in spreadsheets to obtain the results. We have a monthly result. The professor will receive feedback and opinion posts, and some history of this program. It began in 1991 with the partnership from Unicamp. The name was Athletes for the year 2000, and as 2000 came, we had to change the name to Project Athletes for the Future, and after that they realized that it was not a project with the beginning, middle and end. It was perpetual. In 2002-2004 we remodeled the methodology, such as I mentioned for you today, with the partnership with USP. In 2008-2010, we enhanced partnerships because only in SESI units we realized that we wouldn't have good quality. We have 53 units, and you could raise this for more and more children. We have more partnerships with investments from private companies, which is the partnership with private sector. And 2011-2012, we have a specific bibliography for the program. Today, this program has a book for method and 18 books technical for each modality. There is a specific book for each with suggestions that the teacher may be used. We have models, we have manuals. It is an encyclopedia for the program. So after this small history of what this program is in results, using the methodology of Falconi, we will view results here on different views, because we see that if I tell you the result, I need parameters. I can be the manager of the program, I can be the teacher of the program, or I can be a partner. So Falconi says you have these stakeholders, those who are involved in this process, which are clients, society, and what is the great problem with this? These stakeholders, each of these stakeholders have their expectations that may not be the same, and this can cause conflicts in the program. And the great challenge is to try to satisfy all these needs simultaneously. That's why the program is systematic with all levels, with control and evaluation, because if you see, for each instrument of evaluation refers for the need of each stakeholder involved here. Let's go to the results. Clients and employees. The first item is the satisfaction of the client. What is the need of this client? An evaluation is done. It is done periodically. It is systematically done with forms and researches with the parents and teachers of the programs. And the results we had from the last data, 85% of those evaluated had identified an evaluation over 90% satisfaction with this program. So from all the people that were evaluated, 85% of these people were satisfied over 90% with the program. And that was one of the goals of our program to the clients. One of the actions interactions, the parents reunited, developing the events with the family, which we already mentioned. Another item to show this, a little bit of the satisfaction, is the evasion rate, where SESI has a goal to have 3% of evasion rate, and the average, general average, is around 2.95 of evasion. So students that we lose from the program. The methodology used here, I'm going to speak quickly. We have a boy that does swimming, and he leaves swimming and goes into soccer. This is not considered a dropout because he's still in the program as a whole. It's considered a dropout if Pedrinho leaves the program, and there are analysis factors that will be done later. What was the reason? Because he doesn't like it. He wants to do something else. The parents had moved, and so on. Very well. As this rate has been developing throughout the years, some results here. This is a graph that shows from November 2011 how this dropout rate is evolving so that we can keep track of our work. In number of students, we have a structure of 56,824 children participating in this program, being that 13,200 in the multi-sport phase, 14,000 students from 9 to 10 years and 29,000 in sports 1, 2, 3 from 11 to 17 years old. These are for the program athletes for the future. Throughout the year, the development of this program in January is month of vacation, but you have 738 students. Some units of SESI, they don't develop this very much. About 2 units have specific programs in January, so that's why you have this very low number. But the program is structured to go from February to November. Here, just a small sample how these number of students are divided by sports modalities, and I will explain quickly to you that the modalities specifically they are worked from 11 years old on. From 6 to 8 and 10 to 11 we have multi-sports and pre-sports. That doesn't mean that I don't have the specific modality in this age, but it's difficult to sell to the father multi-sports. He won't understand. He understands swimming, soccer, volleyball, so he enrolls him in volley and swimming, but the parent will be explained what will happen to his son.
And then we explained that your son, you're going to have swimming classes and then basketball classes, different activities so that these motor activities are done. And within these figures, we noticed something interesting along the past 4 years. These 4 modalities here have always been the ones that have been most sought after. Today we have some data that support that. Futsal, swimming, handball and volleyball are the most popular ones. Longitudinal studies are the purpose of Sesc. Why am I to set up this center in one city? Well, we have to see whether this center will be beneficial for the city. I need to have data to attest and support this choice. The other point is the follow-up and evaluation of teachers. Everyone is evaluated. We have 230 teachers that does 30 hours of training throughout the year. And all the teachers have their performance followed up. Positive values of sports. We have the assessment of these children. Here, some results. 92% of these students improved their sports activities throughout the years. This is This involves exceeding the targets and the performance. Everything is done in the first and second semester. We noticed that 92% of the children improved their sports activities and attitudes, and this was considered a very large success of the program. Participation of the family, 22,350 parents participated in the reunions. Some activities start with just one member of the family, usually a father, participating. Along these years, we have had 300 parents participating. Why is that? Well, because teachers show what was worked on their children, the performance and attitudes of their children. Physical aptitude, 99.7% of the students are below P20. And according to PRHODE manual, this is caused perhaps by a problem with the children's health. These children, all these problems have been communicated to the parents. This is what we do. We directly talk to the parents and communicate what the problem is. Perhaps it's something related to health. Physiotherapy will solve the situation. 7.4% of the students are above P98, which is the point where you have the study and following up the student throughout this age bracket between 7 and 9. Sometimes the students have this talent to develop an area which could lead this student to be an athlete. 89% of the students had instructions about more than 3 topics throughout the year. Here are our productions. This manual is the one that has the methodology and content of the program, and this one involves the technical management of the program. And here the manuals regarding modalities and the ones with practical examples. Shareholders and societies. Here the partnerships. The program can be developed with partners such as local government and companies. With the companies, you encourage the private social investment. We started with 7 and went on to 34, 67, 106, and 129 in 2012. This is the results with the involvement of our partner companies. With the local government partnerships, they generate to us 432 teachers from local government with 20 hours of training conducted by us. Just to understand what this methodology, Athletes of the Future, is all about. Along these years, 44 local governments, up to 77 local government participation this year. This is what we call good practices. We have the local government set up the project and take it to the House of Representatives. There, the project is voted and it becomes law. When the government changes, the law is still there and can also be applied, regardless of the local authority. Here in the state, this is the situation. You have the municipalities, and here an example, just to wrap up, to show the advantages of our partnership with the local government. When we do this partnership, we give this, or we hand this form to the local government authorities. In the city, for example, we notice that the physical space available to sports would be this space here. The authorities, based on the report and based on the law and what was signed with SESI, show to the government that there are things that need to be improved, and this is the result. This is the result of the program of sports training regarding social aspects of the partnership. SESI does this partnership. He assesses the environment, and this is the result. Just to wrap up, and I'm sorry for taking up so long, we have to say that if for some people the topic is faster, doing better and ever better, for us, participating is the key element. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all a very good event. I'm available to your questions if you have any.
Obrigado ao professor Luís Cláudio.
Thank you, Professor Cláudio. You exceeded a little bit your time, but no problem. Your speech was brilliant. I believe this project is inspiring for all of us, an example to all of us, especially in terms of trainings and assessments. Now, continuing with our order, Professor Paula will talk. She is involved in the University of São Paulo and with a partnership with Ayrton Senna Institute. She works at a program for human development. She is the author of several books on sports for children and the youth. She is graduated in sports by the University of São Paulo. So, Professor Paula, you have the floor. Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Sesc for the invitation and for giving me the opportunity to share our experiences at the Center for Sports Practices, and also to say that I'm here not to talk about my ideas, but to share with you what we do. Our work group is made up of 5 people who have been together for 17 years. That's a long time. We've been working together for all this time at the University of São Paulo, and throughout this time we have been trying to revitalize our practices inside the department. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about our vision on sports and how we see the results that we can get from the perspective that we have built. So my speech is divided into 2 steps. First, I'm going to tell you what is a line of work or a vision, so that I will further on elaborate on the ways we have to discuss development indicators based on sports. The program we developed at the University of São Paulo aims at disseminating, communicating ideas, practices, and knowledge related to sports as a human development factor. As I told you, it is something that's been going on for 17 years. The old talent sports, that was the first initiative developed by the Ayrton Senna Foundation, changed its name. But this team is there since the very beginning. In the past, we would have a contact, direct contact with everyone. I believe this was a big mark of our initiative, is the changing methods we use. We have always tried to find new meanings and to validate and expand the meaning of these practices. Along this process, the project, which used to be called Sports and Talent, changed, and it got closer to the first sector of the university, trying to produce knowledge, to inspire other initiatives, and also be disseminated in other places. Today, we work in these three dimensions. We have three main strategic lines. The first one being service. Today, we have children from 8 to 16 years of age, which is very similar to what Luís presented. They go through sports training that starts with very broad initiatives and practice, so that when they become teenagers, they can choose the modalities they want and perfect and get to know better that modality they chose. And the service is seen as a big laboratory, a space where we can test and experiment methods and actions and structures and ways to do sports that will feed our second line, which is production of knowledge. We have this goal, which is to be a space that will generate new ideas, that will also reflect upon old ideas. Sometimes they're not obsolete and can be used. And the third strategic lines, which is dissemination and communication. Of course, we want to qualify performance, but also it is something that the university has as a main reason to generate improvements outside the campus, which is encompassing everyone. Based on these three structures, I'm going to tell you now what is our vision on sports today. And I also bring a reference, which is Tobino, which was mentioned by the previous speaker. They bring the main elements based on which we articulate on our actions. First of all, is to recognize it as a social cultural phenomenon which goes beyond the simple sports environment. That means as media marketing television sees sports sometimes in a grandiose way. It is assumed as a constitutional right, while practice, it must be provided to all the population, and it is seen as essential activity. We heard Janine talking about this relationship between the sports and society. We want to focus on competition, which is the essence of the games. Of course, it is important and shouldn't be denied. And this phenomenon, which has competition as an essential part of it, acts on the training of human beings as well as its development. We have tried to find meaning for sports in our program. Thus, we can solve some of the biggest dilemmas we live in sports in this country. This is what we have been called high-performance sports. To talk about high-performance sports is a provocation we do for everyone. And, of course, we do not deny its importance. We think on sports based on what we propose here, which is called the organic vision. What does that mean? It is an attempt to try to break through. I believe Luís showed us the model we have about sports laws that divide sports into participation, educational, and high-performance sports. When we talk about organic division, we go beyond that idea and try to see the real meaning of sports based on what people believe sports should be like. We understand somehow that thinking about sports in this segmented way is limiting. We also recognize its importance when we first created it. We wanted to create other things rather than high-performance sports, and we saw the need to go beyond that. We want to look at it without any kind of prejudice. What is the meaning of that practice for the people who practice sports? What is the dimension of the performance that is within sports, within educational field? What is developed in grassroots sports, because development is the basis of it all. So this is what the organic vision is all about. We look at the sports live as it is happening. The meaning is much more complex. We understand that we can only understand sports by having this organic view of it.
Another central aspect besides this organic view of our sports, that is high-performance sports, is a sports that is understood as a factor for human development. The human development as a definition of people leading happy and fulfilling lives, that they have the ability to have what they desire. And we talk about sports as a human factor is to understand it as a constitutive element instead of a means. We must recognize the importance of it being used as a language, a strategy, and a tool to resolve conflicts and for peace. Recently, I had the opportunity to listen to researchers and scholars. When sports are used as a means, they conclude that the sport is not a determinant here. What determines the gains, the transformation in this approach are the human relations that are established in these projects. So we can conclude that sports is necessary, but is not definitely the thing that generates transformation. More than thinking of sports as a mean to improve schools, health, and population, social population, we defend that that has a social value, and that it also has goals to be achieved, not for the culture, but for the sports in itself. And I'm going to explain how we see this. A third principle is to think through the sports development throughout life. It has two premises. The access to sports, besides giving access to sports, and more than this, while the child is in our program, is to understand the importance that this experience be lived in full along the person's entire life. In the same way that we talk about human development, people being able to make choices and have access, we're talking about sports in this sense. People who have access to sports, this goes to, it is not only limited to this, you have access to installations, equipment, but also having a practice of quality, qualify the management each of these programs and allow that these people can, in each phase of their childhood and teenage and as an adult, live a sport that makes sense for that time of their lives. So we have long-term programs to promote the human for sports to exercise their right as long as they are able to move, as long as they have their heart beats. So this is the image that we see today, thinking about this articulation in sports, development in sports, and human development. We understand as an element, as a part of human development, that able, as the definition 1 year back, to contribute to the personal realization of everyone. We have this in every sports, that this can bring happiness, productivity for this person, tied to the dimension of human development. And the big issue here, am I running out of time? Here I come to the panel theme. So, okay, this is great, this philosophy, but how do we dimension this? What is the real value of this? What is the role of sports for it to effectively promote people? What is the weight what we call sports development will have in the human development when we want to measure the results and impacts of these actions? And we have then we reach something that is called sports development rate. We understand this rate as a way, as a possibility to express the development of our children that participate in our programs, and also a way to investigate what actions have been more effective, and incorporating this and following throughout the entire life of this person, and that result in impact in their lives, and even leaving the program to use the benefits of this program. Some of you may say, is she going to show this index? No, we're getting there. It's a way that we have been trailing for the last 2 years. Already 15 minutes? Wow. To discuss about this. What we have today are indicators based in 3 main indicators to ensure sports, to live sports, to practice sports, so that this sport can give me knowledge and to be incorporated more than practice. I want to consume sports so that I can appreciate and also produce cultural sports, and that for me to be able to manage my own sports practice. We talked about this autonomy in the beginning, so that the person can learn to incorporate the physical activity in their daily lives, so that he won't live without this, and this the sports knowledge. And we also have we have played with these indicators in our daily lives, in a level thinking of in a sense that we call a pedagogical method of monitoring for us, for the management of the program. It is also a means to give sense for the experience that they're living, and that they perceive what they are learning, which experience are being learned, so that they can develop this autonomy later on. We have done this in several contexts. We're thinking about this in indexes throughout families, how the family perceives the children and the changes in the children, how the family involves in physical activities and sports in relation with the spaces for the community. And I selected, we also work with competitions. These indicators have also influenced in the way that we develop the competition situations. And I bring an experience to share with you. What is the sense of thinking of this index in relation to competition? They can create a perception of their development, and they can engage in strategies to enhance their sports. What am I good? What do I need to develop so that they can do this in the future? I'm going to go back. I'm going to pass this, just so that you understand how it happens in practice. These are four. This is a reference for us in PRHODE. These are the indicators for sports development for people of 11 years old, children 11 years old. Can I play? These are indicators, individual and collective, that they learn. Do I know the game? Do I know the rules, the dynamics of the game? Am I interested in this modality? And other indicators. Do I prepare for this game? How is my effort, my activities, my self-control, and how do I participate with my team? Do I respect my team? What is the role of each one in there? And through this mapping, this philosophical view, we develop this, and the children participate in these indicators. Sorry, I got a bit messed up with the sequence here. Thank you. So, after this 4 pillars of reflections, 4 dimensions, we reach indicators that you see that I can't read on the screen. If you can see, we will work matters of how do I concentrate, how do I participate in my team, if I have the incentive of my colleagues, if I am calm, if I respect people, if I work as a team, if I know the rules of the game. So this will be developed into indicators at that moment, and the children can self-evaluate and also be evaluated by the educator, and they can talk face-to-face about each of these evaluations that will represent that child and at that moment. This happens throughout a semester. And for example, as of this self-evaluation, they reach a number, a data. We have regulations for competition that says the maximum index for development is 10. So we have a game of 5 against 5, but they can only put 10 ID points, so this will generate a game of 4 against 5. But we're asking, what does this do? Through this experience, they have the possibility of validate or not the evaluation that they have to reevaluate. Perhaps I was underestimated or overestimated. So in this sense that we say it's a measure of development for us, but also for them it's a process of development more than an evaluation. Just to sum up, in these two dimensions, we have perceived that as a pedagogical resource, it is valid to mediate this learning. It's a moment to stop and reflect on what I am doing, stop sweating, and think about the experience that has been lived and that effectively generates in children and teenagers competencies to manage their sports practice, identify their weak points, to establish goals and paths to reach these goals, and in some way enhances the possibility to understand sports that is something more than just a class through the teacher, or just to and as a tool for monitoring and evaluation. We perceive it as a tool different from the usual tools because they are centered in the expression for the subject. It's more than a external measure of evaluation. It's an evaluation for based on the person that is suffering the intervention effectively. And a question that I bring to challenge you: is it possible to think as a matrix for development of people, but not only of people, for programs or governmental programs? Can we think of an index of sports in Brazil? What is the development of sports in Brazil? Is it possible to create these indexes? And curiously, this reflection on in USP, we began in 2009 in a paper with teenagers that were discussing what does human development mean. They will study DHI with the GDP, and we were started asking ourselves, what is there beyond this? We hope it is not a trend, but will continue throughout the entire lives. At the same time, we discovered that several other initiatives were being done in a macro dimension, and ours is a micro dimension. So this first one here is a research that done by different universities in different countries. Second step is being done for it, and Brazil is participating. USP is involved, and it wants to identify indexes for sports success, the study of politics for sports in different countries, to perceive what are the factors that determine the success for sports. We have an interesting thing here in Brazil. It's not a problem of financial problem, but a problem of management for sports policies. This is an experience that is being developed. In Rio de Janeiro and Minas Gerais, in 2009, curiously, at the same time we started discussing this at USP, they developed and collected data in sports in the same way. Rio de Janeiro in 2010, they bring a geo-reference mapping the city in the same perspective. So it seems it's not only us that are talking about this, but there is a movement that needs to gain momentum, and not only to gain medals, but we need measures that can enhance the quality of sports along our entire lives. Thank you very much.
And here's my contact for those who want to get in touch with me. Thank you very much, Paula. An excellent presentation. Now, we're going to have Professor Eduardo Marcolin. He's a coordinator of the Icaro Institute. He is graduated from University of Paraná in physical education. He's professor of the physical education faculty Dom Bosco in Curitiba. He's member of the training department of the Brazilian Tennis Federation. He is an expert in the International Federation of Tennis. So, Professor Marcolin, you have the floor. To work with this transforming power, I'd like to thank the director, Patrícia Medrado. She is the director of Athletes for Citizenship, and we have to tell you that she is one of the references. About 20 years ago, she was the first one who started this project. So thank you very much for being here. First of all, we'd like to show you a video so that you can see visually what we do on a daily basis. And my speech will be quite different from my guest speakers here present. Paula brought some philosophical interpretation, and I hope that after watching the video and seeing what we have to say, we can get across what we wanted to show to you. So when we got the idea of coming here, the invitation to come here, we wanted to show something different. We hope that this speech will generate the perception that we are in tune with each other. Icaro Institute was created in 2003 and aims at providing children and low income use sports as a way to develop these kids as citizens. Over 500 kids have been in the course, and it is recognized by the Brazilian Tennis Confederation, being recognized and acknowledged as a sports as well as development center. Many talents have been with us, and several state titles have been conquered. Some of our students have participated in international tournaments. That is why in 2011 we now have this competition team whose competitors train daily, and they came from the institution itself. And it happens in parallel with these other team. They have joined the institute to support the project as the municipal authorities, which comprises the PCC, which is the Pro-Citizenship Institute, and the Secretariat of Sports, Leisure and Youth. And the Ministry of Sports acknowledges and approves the Icaro Institute's project through the incentive law to sports. The support of companies was key for the project. The participation of Crafts Foods and DMT Academy were fundamental. The Icaro Institute is on the right path, and it still makes a difference on the lives of these children and teenagers inside and outside of the courts. Well, to complement the presentation of our entity, I'd like to show you this timeline. One of the results we want to focus, and we believe it's the most important, is to be in activity for such a long time. If we take a look at this timeline, when we see from 2000 to 2003, these 4 years are put separately because this was a time of learning. The project, just to give you an idea, was born out of Guga Kuerten, tennis player. It's a Brazilian tennis player who made tennis a very popular sport in the country. So in the year 2000, a nationwide project was incorporated in those tennis courts, and thus we decided to start the center. Despite servicing 200 happy children, after 1.5 years, it was abruptly interrupted and put us in a condition in which we had 200 children, and we had to make a decision. Either we finish it all or we take it ahead. Despite we did not have the resources anymore, we decided to maintain the center. So until 2003, it was not an institution, but an spontaneous activity center. In 2003, we decided to make it institutional by creating institution without profit ends. This is when we decided to offer 500 vacancies for children. And although we did not have food for the children or uniforms, so the 50 vacancies or the 50 children were very interested children that could come to us and participate in all activities. In 2004 and 5 and 6, we decided not to have any more children in, so that we could restructure the facilities, because we worked besides sports facilities, we also taught some disciplines. We wanted the center to not only develop children in sports, but also in the school disciplines. So we decided not to increase the number of students. We wanted to reduce this number so that we had more resources to create facilities and build a new school. We had built 2 classrooms so that our actions could increase. So that is why when we incorporated music, chess and other games. In 2008, we decided to use incentive laws, and through this law we entered into partnerships to really improve our work, both qualitative and quantitative. We got some resources from the municipal authorities. Since that time, the teachers and participants were volunteers in its majority who developed this work with children. As of 2009, we developed a partnership with Crafts Food Brazil, a company that came voluntarily to us and became our partner. So we were able to have financial stability and thus have a jump in terms of quality and quantity. In 2009, 100 children. In 2011, we came to 111 children. In 2011, as the video showed you, because we had a demand from the children, we decided to establish a new project of performance, because the children had been participating for several years, and even without the aim of developing athletes and competing athletes, they decided to adopt this idea. So they wanted to participate in tournaments. So we let them do that. As you can see in this column, the number of children that wanted to take part in sports events went up and up. So without having this kind of sports, without focusing on competition, because children wanted to compete, we let them take part in tournaments so that they could take part in tournaments. In 2012, you can see that there was a big quantitative leap. Today, we're working with 570 children. Local government came to us and offered us the opportunity to expand the project to the remaining 8 regions of the city. We offered 50 vacancies for children in other regional units. We believe that our highest point is to have this very fine and enjoyable place for children. We encourage them. You can see here the picture of Guga with his t-shirt. We conducted campaigns and were able to collect funds. And the other picture, you see Thomas Keck and Cesar Kitsch teaching our students. We had this the female Davis Cup in Curitiba, and all the children trained, had physical preparations, and had classes with the professional players. With this, we improve the social activities of children. We have partnerships with other activities. We participate in different activities, just like biennials and others. We have also a lot of volunteers. A lot of people come to us to teach different kinds of classes. For example, language classes. They were able to learn French and English. We're always open to receive volunteers so that the Institute can be a means for this volunteer work. When we look at results, we saw that we had different areas. So we decided to listen to people and have everybody listen to each other. Now we're going to see some testimonials of children, how we act. The Institute helped me to participate better in classes, and this is very important to have sports and classes together. And we also go to different places. We visit different places. We go to theater and other spaces, and it also is beneficial for health. How about friends? Well, we make a lot of friends, not only here but outside as well. Well, the Institute brings several good things. For example, taking people outside the streets and outside of, and have them do away with drugs. And it's also a very good place to make friends. Well, this is what he said. We learn a lot of things here. We learn how to respect each other. And this is what we do here. We learn respect. The Institute brought several good things to me, like improving my performance in classes and my relationship with the family. Everything that I needed, the Institute provided me. I took several trips at Icaro Institute. I learned how to be responsible, to dedicate to my trainings, and I made a lot of new friends. And tennis, I'm learning how to play this sport better. We participate in tournaments, and I'm also able to make a new friends here at the Institute and also in other clubs. And I like teachers and coaches very much, and I train in the afternoon with my friends, and I know a lot more than I did before. I am the mother of Fabio and Mariani, and I like to have my children in the institute. They play tennis, they take trips, and they get to know new places. I have no complaints whatsoever. They get to know places that I cannot afford to take them, and they stay there. They get a new uniform, and they get everything for free. I like to play tennis because I make new friends, and it's also good for my health, and I study, and it helps my studies. I have new friends like Lucas, Fabinho, Dudu. Well, for me, it is important because they are out of the streets, and they have the characters built at the institute. They practice sports, which is good for the health, and I believe it will train them for life. It was very important for me to have them here because they are wiser at school, and also companionship because sometimes they are lonely because we have just the two of them. We want to take good care of them. We don't want to let them lose. It's important to have them here at the institute. And also they love to be here. They love to take part in tournaments. Sometimes they lose, sometimes they win, but I believe the experience they get is the most important. So, as you saw, making friends is very important to students. They realize that they had some improvement at school, and later on we'll see that the performance is even better. Of course, families are at ease because they're not in the streets anymore, because basically because the institute is located around some very rich areas and poor areas as well. And you can see that there's an integration between the rich and the poor. Here, the directors of the school that give their testimonials. I've been in this project since the year 2000. This project has been acting within our school regarding students, organization, discipline, teamwork, and persistence. And here, we've been here for 12 years. We have a partnership with the Icaro's project, and we offer our students, we receive students when we can see that they have a talent for tennis, or because they have some social problems, they have motor problems, we also accept them. We can see that we have made a big difference. Students who take part in the project have shown to be more organized, they have socialized better, and also they have shown more concentration during classes and also more interested in the classroom, and thus have been improving their classroom performance. And so we hope that this go on for a long time. So the children, they say that they are improving at school, and this is attested by the professors and teachers. All this happens in a region that we take at most 5 years by car. So we usually get together and to discuss the problems of the school. I'm not going to show this guy speaking because of time constraints. He is 21 years old, and now he is studying physical education, as was hired as technical assistant. And with this money, he can pay for his studies. So what he says here is that he wants to give the same opportunity for his brothers and friends. Well, before I came here just to play, to have fun, and then I started working here, participating in the activities of the institute, and now I can see that the Icarus Institute has given me the opportunity to study at the university. I'm helping my fellow students with tennis, and I want to work with this all my life so that I can provide the same opportunity for other children. And something that we see here at the Institute, that it is something very familiar, like you have Voucher and his two younger brothers. The gentleman who was talking about his two children, he had another daughter who was also a member of the Institute. So it's very interesting to see how the generations that are coming after the older students are coming with better quality. Walter is a student who works in the university. He has enormous difficulty at school, something that does not happen with his younger brothers. And you can see that in the long run, we've been letting this improvement go on. This institute has a wonderful job, and they have a partnership with us. This partnership is approved by Conchiba. We want to straighten the links with 2,200 children. We work with sociability. We give materials, both permanent, social, sports, and classroom materials. We also take the children for cultural activities. The Icarus Institute socially includes these children, not only in terms of participation, but also as for the future. We're very proud that after 4 years of partnership with this institute, we could see amazing results in children, the self-esteem of these children, the image for the future, a better image for the future they can have through sports and citizenship. And we are sure that we are betting on the right and long-standing partnership that will change the future lives of these children. The practice of sports help the youth in their development, intellectual and physical development, and also take the youngsters out of the streets. In that time, they have nothing to do. Instead of being out in the streets, they practice sports. When they practice sports, youngsters will develop in all aspects, besides doing something which is enjoyable for their lives. This is what human beings look for, is something pleasurable. This avoid the contacts of the youth with drugs.
This was the strategy to try to organize the ideas, because they are all interrelated. And through these depositions, testimonials, we can put through the participants of this what they perceive as results. From our point of view, one of the most important things we do is the development of the commitment of the child and resulting in better school performance. And those who have kids know that the kids, if they do well in school, avoids great big problems, because there is something else that is important that we are doing. Those that have better abilities or motor skills, and that have the will to participate in a high-performance sports career, the results that we see up to now are very good. Today we have already players that are the best players in the city of Curitiba that come from the project. We have a girl that is in the top ranking, and this reflected on the 150 children. We only have 20 that are training on this, but these 20 brought a self-esteem to the whole group. And what happens? The children are being prepared for themselves and to build a better world, a better family, and the community as a whole. And that's what is happening throughout our action. Sorry about the problems and to exceed the time, and thank you very much for the opportunity and for your attention. Thank you very much, Professor Eduardo. We extended his time because everyone else needed a little bit of more time, because 20 minutes is not enough time to expose all these marvelous experience. We would like to hear more from each one without this rush. There are many questions that are important here. I would like to start with a challenging one for all of us. Not only for the speakers, but since I am in a privileged position, I am not going to have to answer the question. This is a question from Everton for all speakers, and I think it's important for everyone to try to answer the questions and your impression of this. We speak and seek sports for all. What are these all? With the programs that work, and how do the programs work with handicapped people? And at any time in the structure of the program, is there a choice for certain modalities? How is this portion of the population attended? Can we work with all of them? Whoever wants to start? I think this is one of the greatest challenges in Brazil. We have a population that is hidden, that we don't know, but is enormous, of children and teenagers with some kind of disability. Our program has no restrictions in regards to this, but there's no affirmative action in this sense. What gives me more hope for if we see this discussion in Brazil, we begin to receive in the last years that spontaneously seek the program and that are handicapped, but it doesn't. They still come out. This is an important indicator. Them and their families start to understand the right they have for this practice, and that this practice doesn't have to be only for people of alike. So it's important for them to be inserted in the sports context in programs that are for children, independent of being handicapped or not. Our program, the choice of the modality is in accordance with the child, and when they meet with other children, they decide what they want to learn. We don't have a closed structure that they're going to have to learn this or that. They have the liberty of choosing modalities which are not the traditional modalities. I understand that this is one of the great discussions that have to be brought for the handicapped children. I think they are not exclusive programs for them, but more affirmative actions that we have to act to ensure this right to all these handicapped children. Everton, this question is very important. SESI, in its programs for formation of sports, in the case athletes for the future. In your conception, it is a participation and inclusive program. We have from 6 to 10 years a large number of children with handicap, that are handicapped or disabled, that participate in the program. And in some units there are when there is a greater demand and specific for a specific disability in a certain modality, SESI establish partnerships, as we have in some units, with entities that are already have the expertise specifically for this area and develop a specific program for these disabilities. It is important. The great problem is after 11 years old, because after this, the modalities are chosen through demand research. Up to 10 years old, it's very similar. The children will develop several modalities, and after 11 years old, we have a demand. So then we have a structure, an organizational structure of number of teachers, so we have a limitation to amplify the modalities after 11 years old. I leave to you, Everton, and to everyone some numbers that will state this concern. In private institutions from 6 to 17 years old today, there are 250,000 people participating in sports. Private entities, so there are clubs, there are SESI, Sesc, YMCA, correct? 250,000 people from 6 to 17 years old. Do you know the number of the population in Brazil from 6 to 17? It's about 25 million people. So this is a data and it's a concern. Up to which point is the sport available to all? Well, from Icaro, there is no restriction. We stimulate the project that is being developed in the neighborhoods, in the 9 regions of the city, developed in a public space that is able to receive disabled people, children. I can tell you that I remember 6 participants from the 570s, so it's a very small percentage, and what I see is that there is the possibility, but we need specific projects to attract this population. Thank you very much, everyone. Only for this question we would need another round table, but this was a great contribution. I wouldn't be able to answer because I would have to talk a lot. We have several questions here, but we don't have much time. I'm going to ask a question to each one of the speakers. I will begin with Luís Carlos. It's a question from Liviana Ortiz from Colombia. She asks the following: how the activities are developed in the schools with teachers or physical education teachers. In Colombia, it's not possible to do it with school teachers because it has to be out of the school time. How does SESI or the program surpass the resistance of these schools? What is her name? Liliana Ortiz. Oh, Liliana, this program, Athletes for the Future from SESI, fits the structure that I showed in Tubino in participation in sports. So it's not tied into the action of regular school, structured regular school. It occurs on the SESI units with the teachers of SESI in a period of time when the child is not at school. So the child goes to school, and in the next period, she goes into the program and participates. We have also in SESI and with partnerships. We have partnerships with schools because we have a structure for teaching. Since this, how is this program developed? Even with integral study in SESI, we have a curriculum that is and the other grid, which is from a different period, it is called in SESI from a diverse grade. That's why the teachers that act in the Athletes for the Future can work within the rules and legal requirements. In the municipality, the partnership works with hired coaches, but they're not the ones that work at the school. At the municipal school, for example, the public school. But if it's the case to act in the public school, this action should happen in a different period because physical education is part of the school program. I'm not sure if I was able to answer the question correctly. I'd like to emphasize that in Curitiba we were able to develop with the municipality a project that began in 2006 in tennis in a public school. Today we have 22 schools that are involved. The physical education from the own schools are trained, and which is done through Icaro and the municipal secretariat. We have about 1,000 children playing tennis in public schools. This that has been done in the neighborhoods is not to exclude the students from the public schools. Since they have this inside the public schools and even during recess, this project of neighborhoods offers from these public schools to have this option as well. I would like to ask another question for him. What is the view for the future of the Institute? Each year we think that we've reached the future, but we see that there's a lot ahead still. But today we are trying to consolidate this action in the whole city through activities in school or in the public spaces, so that the initiation can be developed and to explore tennis as a means of education. And we are consolidating the study and has 6 courts, has lots of installations to specifically for tennis to serve the children who want to get involved and participate in competitions. So in the future, what we see today is the we have 170 children, a center of service that to have contact with the sports in the neighborhoods that are spread all over the city. Thank you very much. Professor Paula, to finish this panel, in the positive concern to create strategies so that the participants of the project incorporate sports throughout their whole entire lives. In some way, the feedback from these people that have already left the project and are but still continue practicing sports. We don't have this data. We haven't this analyzed and systemized this data. Some people have left the program that are here and are physical education teachers. But I think it's important to say, why do we speak of this today? Because we started to realize that in the final years of the program, these children didn't know the public spaces from their community. They didn't use these public spaces, and that effectively the practice of sports was tied to being in the project. And at the time that they left the project, they couldn't see where they could continue. It is as if that was the end. This is not specific to our program. This is a tendency that we can see. We have specific data how the level of physical activity diminishes once they're out of the program for several reasons, but it is a data for us. It is relevant for us to think about our practice, so we still don't have this data. We imagine that in the near future we can look at this and see the impact of this approach done within the project. As I said, we started to think about this in 2009 to see this context. We don't have this data yet, but we will have soon, I hope. Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you, Luís. Thank you, Eduardo. The projects have very important initiatives. I hope this campaign that we are articulating in Brazil is able to congregate the synergy of efforts, experience, knowledge, for us to diffuse and share and make it democratic for all agents of these proposals that are spread throughout this country. And we have several important examples from organizations, not only in large cities, but in the country, not only in the south, but also in the north part of Brazil. We know this exists, and I hope that we can favor this human development, social development, network development, so that we can have more exchange, more people adhering to this cause, and so that we may enrich these projects through knowledge, through the exchange of experiences, through contact and meetings. This is important. I would like to thank your presence here, because what makes these initiatives happen are the people. And people give life to organizations, they give life to projects, and that they take this dimension of life to other people that perhaps don't have as much access for not having the same opportunities as mentioned here today. Thank you very much for all. Good afternoon, and I hope we have great Congress until tomorrow.
Agradecemos os palestrantes.
We thank the speakers, Luís Cláudio Marques, Paula Korsakas, and Paulo, and the mediator. We will have a pause for lunch. We will resume at 3:50 at the theater and here as well. We would ask you to take your belongings with you, and good afternoon.